The Obsidian Council chamber of Arachtor was silent, save for the faint hum of the hollow projection in the center of the circular room. Delegates from dozens of star systems watched, their varied forms illuminated by the eerie green light of the display. On the screen, a human, a species often dismissed as reckless and primitive, stood unarmed before an Arthra Beast. The creature towered above him, its armored carapace glinting like molten gold. 4 serrated limbs extended menacingly, while its 6 obsidian eyes radiated a cold, predatory focus. And yet, there it was, lowering its horned head toward the human's outstretched hand. The beast, known across the galaxy for its ferocity and unmatched resistance to energy-based weaponry, allowed itself to be touched. The human's fingers traced the crest of the creature's skull, his expression calm, almost meditative. "This is either a fabrication or an act of lunacy," declared Prime Envoy Raivul of the Clith Collective.
If you are intrigued so far, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified so you don't miss out. Let's dive back in.
His crystalline exoskeleton refracting light into a dozen colors. The Arthra is the apex predator of Tenebrous Val. It has annihilated entire scouting parties. And yet, this human survives. Tames it? At the far end of the chamber, Ambassador Elric Varen of Earth leaned forward, his smile laced with mischief. "Not tamed, Prime Envoy. Understood. There's a difference." A ripple of confusion passed through the assembly. The Trinid delegate, a gelatinous being whose form shimmered with faint bioluminescence, spoke through its translator. "Explain. How does a species with such limited physical resilience achieve what no other has managed?" Elric gestured toward the projection, his voice steady. "Captain Jor Kale is one of Earth's foremost explorers. He's not a warrior nor a scientist. He's a bridge builder. Humans have an affinity for connection, an instinct to reach out even when logic says it's impossible." The footage continued, showing the captain speaking in low tones as the Arthra tilted its massive head. The beast's imposing quills relaxed, folding inward as it emitted a guttural sound that seemed almost contented. "This is nonsense," scoffed Envoy Rival. "No mere instinct overcomes centuries of evolutionary aggression." Elric's smile didn't falter. "Perhaps you underestimate what instinct is capable of when combined with empathy." The chamber darkened as the projection shifted to Tenebrous Vale, the forbidding home of the Arthra. Its volcanic plains glowed with rivers of molten ore, and its skies churned with perpetual storms. The scene showed Jorik's ship descending into the hostile atmosphere, its shields flickering against the electrical surges. "Captain Kale wasn't sent there to fight," Elric explained. "His mission was reconnaissance, evaluate the viability of peaceful interaction. But as soon as his team landed, they were surrounded by Arthrax. The logical choice would have been retreat or defense. Jorik chose neither." In the footage, Jorik approached the lead beast, his body language calm and deliberate. His team, visible in the background, stood frozen, their weapons lowered but their fear palpable. "Captain Kale understood something crucial," Elric continued. "The Arthra respond not to dominance but to intent. Their actions are dictated by energy. Fear begets fear. Aggression begets aggression. Jorik presented neither. He showed them trust." The projection froze on the moment of contact. Jorik's hand resting on the creature's massive crest, the faint glow of its molten veins dimming as if in response to his presence. The room erupted into debate, voices clashing in dozens of languages. Some delegates dismissed the footage as impossible, while others speculated on the implications of such a breakthrough. Amid the chaos, Elric leaned back, his voice cutting through the noise. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is not a miracle. It's humanity's greatest strength, the ability to connect even in the face of the unknown." The murmurs softened as the projection faded, leaving only the glowing symbol of the Obsidian Council in its place. The ship's landing thrusters roared as Captain Jor Kale and his team descended into the smoldering depths of Tenebrous Val. The landscape below was a hellish expanse of obsidian cliffs and glowing rivers of molten ore. Thunder crackled through the ash-laden sky, and the distant rumble of tectonic shifts set an ominous tone. For most species, this was a no-go zone. For Jorik, it was the start of an extraordinary mission. Shields at 45% and dropping, reported Kai Ven, the ship's pilot, her dark eyes scanning the flickering displays. If we stay here too long, this atmosphere will peel us apart like old paint. Jorik adjusted his harness, his gaze fixed on the terrain. We won't be long, just need to confirm what the Arithrak are guarding. Behind him, Ren Adar, the team's xenobiologist, checked his equipment nervously. Confirm it? Or survive it? Those things could shred a battle tank, Jorik. Noted, Jorik said with a faint smile, strapping on a lightweight tactical pack. But tanks don't have a pulse. Trust me, we've got something they don't. Ren exchanged a glance with Kai but said nothing. The ship touched down with a jarring thud, its exterior shielding sizzling against the superheated ground. The rear hatch opened, releasing a wave of stifling heat and the acrid scent of sulfur. Welcome to paradise, Kai muttered, pulling on her protective visor. She glanced at Jorik. Lead the way, Captain. Jorik stepped out onto the volcanic plain, his boots crunching against the crystalline ash. The oppressive heat and swirling air currents made every breath feel heavy. Ahead of them, jagged spires of obsidian rose like the ribs of some ancient beast, and the distant roar of molten flows filled the air. The group moved cautiously, their scanners picking up faint but massive life signatures. It didn't take long for the first shadow to appear. There, Ren whispered, pointing toward a ridge where a hulking figure stood silhouetted against the glowing horizon. The Arthra Beast was even larger than the recordings had shown. Its armor-like exoskeleton shimmered with veins of molten gold, and its serrated limbs twitched with unsettling precision. Two more emerged behind it, their glowing eyes locked onto the intruders. Kai's hand hovered near her holstered plasma rifle. What's the plan, Jorik? Because don't get eaten seems optimistic. Jorik raised a hand, signaling for stillness. We hold our ground. No sudden moves. No weapons. Great, Kai muttered. I'll just die peacefully then. The lead Arithrak descended from the ridge, its movements deliberate and unnervingly fluid for something so massive. The ground vibrated with each step as it closed the distance. Its 6 glowing eyes shifted between the humans, assessing them. Jorik inhaled deeply, then stepped forward alone. He crouched slightly, lowering his center of gravity in a gesture of non-aggression. I'm not here to hurt you, he said, his voice calm and steady. I'm here to understand. The Arithrak halted, its serrated limbs twitching but not advancing. The other beasts watched intently, their glowing eyes unblinking. Jorik, Ren hissed from behind. This is insane. Trust me, Jorik replied without turning. Slowly, he extended his hand toward the lead beast. The air between them seemed to thrum with tension, the heat intensifying as the creature loomed closer. The Arithrak's quills bristled, its molten veins flaring brighter. Kai's fingers twitched near her weapon, but she held back, her breath caught in her throat. Then, impossibly, the creature's quills began to lower. Its massive head tilted slightly, and the glow in its veins dimmed. Jorik's hand made contact, his palm resting against the armored surface of its crest. The beast exhaled a deep, resonant growl, a sound that was neither aggressive nor threatening. Ren stared in disbelief. Did it just purr? The other Arithrax moved closer, their imposing forms less hostile now. One by one, they lowered their heads, observing the strange visitors. Jorik turned to his team, his expression calm but triumphant. We're not just trespassers anymore. We're invited guests. Kai let out a shaky laugh. Well, if this is a party, I'd rather not be on the menu. As the team regrouped, the lead Arithrak stepped back, turning toward a distant formation of jagged cliffs. It let out a deep call that echoed through the volcanic valley, a sound that seemed to resonate in the bones of everyone present. The other beasts followed suit, forming a protective escort around the humans. They want us to follow, Jorik said, already moving toward the formation. Ren hesitated. Follow them where? Into their den? Exactly, Jorik said, a hint of excitement in his voice. We're about to find out what they've been guarding for centuries. The jagged cliffs loomed larger as the team followed the Arithrax deeper into the volcanic valley. The beasts moved with uncanny precision, their movements synchronized like a well-drilled unit. The molten rivers casting an eerie glow across the terrain seemed to dim as they approached a massive fissure carved into the cliffs, a gateway of obsidian stone, marked with intricate carvings that pulsed faintly in rhythm with the beast's veins. "This isn't just their den," Ren said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's something else. Look at those markings." Kai adjusted her visor, scanning the glowing symbols. "These aren't natural formations. Someone or something built this." Jorik stopped in front of the gateway, his hand brushing over the carvings. The surface was warm, almost alive, and the faint pulsing matched the steady beat of his own heart. "It's a vault," he said, "and it's been sealed for a very long time." The lead Arithrak let out a low growl, stepping forward to press its massive head against the central carvings. The gateway shuddered, releasing a plume of ash and heat as the markings brightened, their glow intensifying until the stone split apart with a deafening crack. The interior revealed itself in fragments as the dust settled. Massive crystalline structures lined the walls, their surfaces refracting the molten light into shimmering rainbows. At the center of the cavern sat a towering construct, a sphere of shifting energy, suspended above the ground by an intricate lattice of obsidian tendrils. The air inside was dense with an electric charge, vibrating with power. "What the hell is that?" Kai asked, her voice tinged with awe and dread. Jorik stepped closer, the sphere reflecting in his wide eyes. "It's alive." Ren's scanner beeped furiously as he analyzed the energy field. "This isn't just a power source, it's a containment device. Something's locked inside." The Arithrax surrounded the construct, their glowing eyes fixed on the humans as if awaiting a decision. The lead beast let out a deep, resonant growl, its massive frame vibrating with intensity. "They've been guarding this," Jorik murmured. "But why?" Kai scanned the room, her hand instinctively resting on her weapon. "Whatever it is, it's strong enough to need an entire species to keep it under lock and key. That doesn't scream harmless to me." Ren frowned at his scanner. "This thing predates anything we've seen in the galaxy. Thousands, maybe millions of years old. Whoever built it left no record in any known archives." Jorik moved closer to the construct, the air around it growing heavier with every step. Symbols rippled across the sphere's surface, ancient and unreadable, yet somehow familiar. He extended a hand, his fingers just inches away from the glowing energy. "Jorik, don't," Kai started, but it was too late. The moment his hand made contact, the chamber erupted with light. The sphere expanded, enveloping him in a cocoon of shifting energy. Images and sounds bombarded his mind, a dying star collapsing into a singularity, an ancient civilization building the construct to trap something unspeakably powerful, and the Arithrax standing as eternal sentinels to protect it. Jorik's breath hitched as he glimpsed a shape within the sphere, a massive, amorphous entity, its form ever-changing. It pulsed with malevolence, its sheer presence radiating an ancient hunger. The sphere wasn't just a prison. It was the only thing keeping the galaxy safe from the entity's wrath. The vision faded, and Jorik staggered back, gasping. Kai caught him before he fell, her face pale with worry. "What happened? What did you see?" "It's not just a containment device," Jorik said, his voice trembling. "It's a warning. The Arithrax. They weren't just guarding it. They were chosen to protect it. If this thing gets out..." He broke off, shaking his head. "We can't let that happen." Ren glanced at the sphere nervously. "Chosen or not, what if we've already disturbed it?" That light show wasn't subtle. As if in response, the ground trembled violently. Cracks spiderwebbed across the crystalline walls, and a deafening roar echoed through the cavern. From the shadows emerged a hulking figure, larger than any Arithrak they had encountered. Its carapace glowed with fiery intensity, and its eyes burned with raw, primal fury. "What is that?" Kai yelled, pulling her plasma rifle. Ren's scanner flickered wildly. "That's not one of them, it's something else. Some kind of guardian." The Arithrax let out a collective roar, positioning themselves between the humans and the monstrous intruder. The lead beast turned to Jorik, growling urgently. "They're protecting us," Jorik said, gripping his pack. We have to get out of here, now. The cavern shook violently as the monstrous guardian emerged from the shadows. Its jagged, molten form radiated an ancient, unyielding power. It wasn't just a creature, it was the failsafe, a final defender created to annihilate anything that threatened the construct's delicate balance. Its roar reverberated through the chamber, a deafening sound that carried the weight of countless centuries. The Erythrax sprang into action, their serrated limbs and bristling quills gleaming in the fiery light. The lead beast growled deeply, signaling to the others as they formed a defensive line in front of the humans. Jorik, Kai, and Ren stumbled back toward the cavern's entrance, their hearts pounding. "This thing is no ordinary guardian," Ren shouted, his scanner crackling from the overload of energy readings. "It's reacting to the disturbance. The sphere's activation must have woken it up." "We're in its way," Kai yelled, raising her plasma rifle. "And I don't think it cares who's guilty or innocent." Jorik grabbed her arm, lowering the weapon. "No. If we attack, we're no better than a threat. Let the Erythrax handle this." The lead Erythrax charged forward with a guttural roar, its massive form colliding with the molten guardian. The impact sent a shockwave through the chamber, shattering crystalline structures and sending shards raining down. The other Erythrax joined the fray, their movements precise and coordinated as they slashed at the creature with their razor-sharp limbs. For a moment, it seemed like the Erythrax might overpower their foe. Their claws found purchase in the Guardian's molten carapace, tearing chunks away with every strike. But the creature retaliated with brutal efficiency, its molten appendages lashing out with enough force to send an Erythrax hurtling across the chamber. The beast slammed into a wall and collapsed motionless. "We can't just stand here," Kai said, her voice cracking with desperation. "They're buying us time. But for what?" Jorik's gaze darted to the sphere, its glow growing unstable. The symbols on its surface flickered wildly, and faint cracks began to spiderweb across its energy lattice. "The sphere, it's breaking down. If it fails completely, the entity inside will escape." "Then what do we do?" Ren asked, panic creeping into his voice. "That thing won't stop until we're all dead." Jorik's mind raced as he remembered the visions from the sphere, the Erythrax's purpose, their bond with the construct, and the ancient creators who had left this place behind. "We have to stabilize it. The Erythrax weren't just guardians, they were part of the containment. Without them, the sphere can't hold." He turned to the lead Erythrax, locking eyes with the massive beast. "You've been protecting this for centuries. Show me how to help." The creature growled deeply, stepping back from the battle. It lowered its head toward Jorik, its obsidian eyes reflecting the swirling chaos around them. Slowly, it nudged him toward the sphere. "He's insane," Kai muttered, watching as Jorik approached the glowing construct. "Completely insane." "I'm not arguing," Ren said, gripping his scanner as if it could shield him from the chaos. Jorik placed both hands on the sphere's surface. The energy surged around him, enveloping him in a blinding cocoon of light. Images and sensations flooded his mind once more. The entity's rage, the creator's desperate measures, and the intricate network of energy that kept the prison intact. Through sheer force of will, Jorik focused on the Erythrax. He felt their connection to the sphere, an unspoken bond forged through centuries of vigilance. Slowly, he extended that bond, projecting his intent into the construct. The sphere responded, its cracks beginning to seal as the energy stabilized. The Guardian let out a deafening roar, sensing the shift in power. It lunged toward the humans, but the lead Erythrax intercepted it, locking the molten beast in a deadly grapple. The other Erythrax rallied, their collective strength forcing the Guardian back. The chamber trembled as the battle reached its peak, but the balance had shifted. The sphere's light brightened, sending waves of stabilizing energy rippling through the cavern. "It's working," Ren shouted, his scanner now registering a steady flow of energy. "The containment is holding." Jorik staggered back from the sphere, his body trembling with exhaustion. The lead Erythrax growled softly, lowering its head in what felt like a gesture of thanks. The Guardian let out one final, anguished roar before collapsing into a molten heap, its glowing form dimmed, cooling into lifeless stone as the chamber fell silent. Kai exhaled shakily, lowering her rifle. "Is it over?" "For now," Jorik said, his voice hoarse. He turned to the Arithrax, their towering forms still radiating quiet strength. They'll keep it safe, but this place, it has to remain a secret. As the team retreated from the chamber, the gateway sealed itself behind them, its glowing carvings fading into darkness. The Arithrax returned to their vigil, their purpose renewed. Back aboard their ship, Jorik stared out at the volcanic planet below. We came here looking for answers, he said quietly. And we found a responsibility. Kai and Ren joined him at the viewport. Do you think anyone will believe us? Ren asked. They don't have to, Jorik replied. The Arithrax will make sure the galaxy stays safe, and if anyone ever tries to disturb this place again. He trailed off, watching as the distant glow of the fissure disappeared into shadow. They won't get a second chance. The ship ascended, leaving the Guardians and their eternal charge behind. Though the stars beckoned them toward new adventures, none aboard the vessel could shake the feeling that they had just witnessed something that would change the galaxy forever.